Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's 2024 Windom Mayor Debate. My name is Quinton Keith, and I am joined in moderating by Gabriella Simmons. We are joined on stage by Mr. Dominic Jones.
Can't hear ya.
Stand here.
Quinn, can you just hold that mic for a minute and see if it's the mic? Hey, seriously, it just worked when we just did this earlier, didn't it, Quentin? Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Try this again. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's 2024 Windom Mayor Debate. My name is Quinton Tietz, and I am joined in moderating by Gabriella Simmons. We are joined on stage by Mr. Dominic Jones, Ms. Jenny Quaid, and Ms. Hillary Mathis. Each candidate will begin with their opening statements, beginning with Mr. Jones, followed by Ms. Quaid and Ms. Mathis. After their opening statements, a question will be asked to an individual candidate, followed by a rebuttal discussion period for the other two candidates. The next questions will follow the same process, with a different candidate receiving the initial question in round-robin order. The debate will conclude with each candidate's closing statements. We ask the candidates to respect each other's time and refrain from trying to rally the crowd. We also ask audience members to remain silent, hold their applause, and refrain from any flash photography during the event. Please note, we do reserve the right to remove any members of the crowd who do not comply. We thank you all for attending, and I invite you to welcome the candidates with a brief applause. Mr. Jones, you may begin with your opening statement. You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Thank you, Quentin. And thank you to the political science class of Windom Area High School. It's an honor to be here and to talk with you, express our feelings, and I'm just very much appreciated at Windom Area Schools for having this debate. Where I'll start with is what's most important to me, and that's family. Family is a part of us all, and I've been fortunate to be married to, yes, the same woman for 39 years. She's sitting in the second row, but she's first row to me, so I'm trying to politic there too. So we've been married 39 years, and we have 4 children, and we have currently 6 grandchildren and a 7th one on the way. My son Derek, he works at Toro here within our community, and he's manager of the Peyton Wells. And then they have 4 children. My daughter Carrie lives in North Carolina. She's married to a Marine. He's on about his 17th year. They have 2 children and one on the way that we're going to go visit here in about 2 weeks. So my 3rd child is Justin. Justin's recently engaged. He's an administrator at the Good Sam facility in Laverne, Minnesota. Very proud of him as well. And my youngest is Austin Jones. And Austin's a manager at up in a warehouse for Hermel Foods in Mankato. So very proud of them. Family's important. I think that another thing is faith, and I belong to the St. Francis Xavier Church. Very proud of that as well, and I'm a member there. All of my kids have graduated from Windom Area High School. I think that's a great accomplishment for a young family that moved into this community in 1993. Are you giving me the wave yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you could please wrap up your statement in the next 10 seconds.
Thank you. I do like to talk, I'm sorry. But my employer, I'm general manager of Red Rock Rural Water System that serves water to 17 communities and 2,556 individual connections throughout portions of 9 counties in southwest Minnesota. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Quaid, you may begin with your opening statement.
Yes, I'd like to thank the school for having us here. This is a wonderful event, and I'm glad to see a good turnout. I am Jenny Quaid, and I was born and raised in Windom. I left the area after graduation to attend college and earn a degree in chemical dependency studies and a bachelor's degree in corrections and sociology. I returned to my hometown, Windom, to pursue my career and raise a family. When I started as a chemical dependency counselor, and then I transitioned into a probation officer for the state of Minnesota. I have been employed by the Department of Corrections for 20 years now here in Windom. I've always been committed to public service and being involved and invested in our community. In high school, right here, I was involved in volleyball, basketball, softball, and choir. And I see my choir teacher is here. I also see my English teacher that is here. I also wrote for the school newspaper, if anybody remembers the Tatler. I attend church youth group and was a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I had a part-time job as a nursing assistant at the Good Samaritan Home here in Windom. I also worked while I went to college and was involved in the Corrections Club at MSU Mankato. I've been a Sunday school teacher, served on the Youth and Family Board at church. I was on the Southwest Crisis Center Board of Directors for 8 years and also served as board chair for 3 years. I've been involved over 15 years and continue to be involved with the Cottonwood County Truancy Committee, the Cottonwood County Collaborative Board, organizing Windom's annual Night to Night. And also I'm a very detail-oriented person. I've always been told that if you want to get something done, I'm your gal. Also, if you want to have a meeting and get things accomplished, I will be the one to bring the food. Very important. I ran for city council 6 years ago, and I have been very invested in learning and making connections during those 6 years. I serve on the Street Commission, the Liquor Store Commission, Park and Rec Commission, Joint Government Commission, and Personnel Committee. I also serve on the Southwest Regional Development Commission as a representative for the city of Windom. During the 6 years that I've been a part of almost hiring about half of the department heads, seeing the kayak launch finally installed, opening of the dog park, advocating for hiring a full-time ambulance director, expanding the liquor store, and Windom Area Health, which all have been positive impacts on the community. And I will continue to advocate for the growth and success of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Quaid. Ms. Mathis, you may begin with your opening statement.
Thanks to all who attended and to you guys for putting this on. What an honor to be here. I am Hillary Mathis, lifelong resident of Windom, Minnesota, living all 41 years of my life within about the same 8-block radius of the center of town. I graduated from Windom area schools in 2001, married my high school sweetheart, and settled in to raise 5 of our children in this community. I currently own and operate a small business in downtown Windom, recently celebrating 13 years in business. The experience of entrepreneurship in Windom has not only connected me with the community in ways I never would have been able to do otherwise, but has also given me valuable insight to local consumer and retailer challenges alike. Owning a business in Windom has also given me strong experience in perseverance, working through challenges, and thinking outside the box to bring positive change and interactions. Over the years in Windom, I have been involved in several community efforts. Through these experiences, I have built many strong relationships with different groups, organizations, and individuals who reside in Windom. I've seen cultures connect and community form, all good things for each of us. Through these experiences, I've been able to observe the disconnect between our local government and our community. That said, I have also seen what we can accomplish when we rally, communicate, and work towards the common good for all in Windom. These observations, along with the encouragement of my peers, have motivated me to run for local office as Windom Mayor. If elected, I will give this position my all and promise to do all I can to implement the changes I'm hearing the community desperately seeks: honesty, transparency, and clear and frequent communication. I think we need to work very hard to bridge the gap between our local government and its constituents, and with that, build an unmatched sense of community pride.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis.
Thank you all for your opening statements. We are going to start with questions. You will all have a chance to answer, but we're going to first start with Ms. Mathis. There are a lot of public concerns regarding Highway 60 through 71 through town traffic. What are your opinions on the current state of Highway 60/71 and through town traffic?
I hate it, like everybody. I know that some work has been done. I think we just need to do everything we can to get the 3-lane or 2-lane back to 4. I rallied and worked with Rod Hamilton in 2008 to finish Highway 60. My cousin was killed, but between Mountain Lake and Butterfield in 2005. And we rallied hard. It had MnDOT down here to the community center. We spoke to them, had tons of people there giving their input, and to have gone through all of that and then watch it come back to 2-lane was crushing. So I think again, I know some work has been done on that, but I think we really need to do whatever needs to be done to get that turned back into a 4-lane.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, your turn.
I'm going to start with talking about Mayor John Galley, who was mayor for 12 years. Back in the time when they were pushing for Highway 60 and that process continued. John was one of the first political people that I met in town, and he said, "Dominic, you'll always have things that are going to be complicated." And he said, Highway 60/71 is going to be one of them. So it is on everyone's mind. I feel strongly about getting the South Highway 60/71 back to a 4-lane. And we did that as a council on a temporary condition. And then to make matters worse, they said also, we're going to throw in that you have a stoplight to replace. They doubled the cost of that. They are studying, supposedly, South 60/71 to turn it back to 4 lanes based on crash data information. So the council took action and authorized me to send a letter to the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and that letter was sent to the commissioner along with Governor Walz, along with our local representative, March Fogelman, and our Senator Jim Vickerman. And we did that out of respect. It was a cordial letter, but we cited all of the things our public wanted. And I think that's an important key, is the public stood behind it. They came in June prior to the flood, and we had, some 30 to 40 people testified. And they came before the city council, who met at the community center. And it was every single one of them said 2 things.
Please wrap up your statements.
Thank you. And the most important of them was get South 60/71 back to 4-lane. We did that. The next day, there was a severe accident. The very next day, coming out of Quick Trip. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Quaid?
Yes, I think Highway 60/71 coming through Windom is one of our major assets in our community. Having that traffic come through brings a lot of business and a lot of resources that come into our community. So it's a positive thing. But the way that the state, because it is a state highway, the city doesn't get to control that highway. The state came in and had meetings, had input, and I think our community spoke loud and clear of what our concerns and how we wanted it. But ultimately, we need to realize that this is a state of Minnesota highway, and the state of Minnesota does have the final say in what happens there. We as a council have urge them. You as a community have spoke out as well. And we're going to continue, and we're going to continue to go higher and higher levels to what we need to do to be able to try to convince them to get this back. I know when the state came in, they said the 3-lane that they made out by Quick Trip when Quick Trip came was just a trial basis, so they were trying this out. And now all of a sudden they're telling us we have to study to turn it back into 4-lane. And I thought that kind of doesn't fit with what you said to us, because you said we were trying out, it was a trial for the 3-lane, and to me they don't need to study to turn it back to a 4-lane. We know that 4-lane is where we need to be. So I think they're just putting us off a little longer, but I think we need to just push as much as we can and call legislators and everything we can to promote getting that back to 4-lane. Thank you.
Thank you. You all now have a 3-minute rebuttal.
Just
Agreed. Sarah.
Just as a reminder, if you do see me raise my hand, that is meaning you are down to the last 30 seconds of your time. Thank you. We will now move on to our next question. Mr. Jones, what are your thoughts for the pool going forward? Will it be repaired or replaced?
I think that is yet to be determined, but what I do know is it is an outdated pool, and it has served its life, I believe. I think there's major situations with it right now after the flooding. We had motors that were running as the flood waters entered it. They are no longer usable. They'll be replaced. You could notice by the level of the river that water was infiltrating somewhere within the pool as it raised at the same level that the river was raising. We ended up having fish in the pool when we were done. So, you know, that's not good for a swimming pool. I'm not really happy with the location of that pool. I think that the current condition of the pool, it warrants the investigation of a pool elsewhere. And I hope we get to talk about the lifeguards, because I'm a believer that we should at least talk to the school district. We always will have to have our students cross Highway 6071. And I think it's important that we have it in a facility that we have good access to. And I'd like to talk to the school district about potentially having it on school property where it's a better access if we're driving our students to swimming lessons, which is the #1 important thing of a swimming pool, and that we can also keep our lifeguards trained and ready and available.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Quaid?
Yes, I have been on the Park and Rec Commission for the entire 6 years that I've been on council, and I have been an advocate for the pool. The mayor, I think, can attest to this. Every meeting, every budget meeting, every year I bring up the pool, the importance of the pool, trying to put money aside for the pool, everything I can for the pool. I think in the last couple of years when we've had a few youth in our area drowned, that just brings home the point that we need to have swimming lessons. Young people need to learn how to swim. Very important. In the last year, though, we did finally get the council to agree to budget money for Burbach Aquatics, and they came in and they were starting to study the pool and looking at different options, and if we needed to bring it towards a public referendum, which I think ultimately is probably where this will lay, is for you, the public, to vote on whether or not we should put the funds into having a pool. Now, we looked at the basic pool to no thrills, just basic pool. We're looking at $6 to $7 million, just so people are aware of what we're talking about. Now, with the damage that happened to the pool, and this has been a continual thing with all of our floods, what we're looking at now is if the damage of the pool is 50% or more of the current value of the pool, it's possible we may be able to access some FEMA funds. And so to me, that is the only maybe positive to come out of the flood, if there is available FEMA funds from the flood, that's a lot of F's in there, to be able to get money to redo a pool and relocate a pool. because that is in a floodplain that's just, probably not the best location.
Thank you, Ms. Quaid. Ms. Mathis?
Yeah, I think I did read Tiffany Lamb, who is our EDA. She has been good about updating social media, and as far as I understand it, we're waiting on FEMA right now. I know there have been studies done. I hope that as soon as FEMA's decision comes back, whatever we get for funding from that, we can quickly move forward with not paying for any more studies. This pool has been flooding since I was a kid. I remember the summer of '93, and we didn't have access to it. And I think our kids have had a rough summer, not only the kids that haven't gotten to swim, but the kids that missed out on their summer income. So I know it costs a lot of money, and I know that other communities, much smaller communities around us, have done it. So I would be interested to speak to them. I don't know if anything we've done, but just whatever we can do to find out how someone else did it. If Lakefield did it, we can do it. However they did it, I know we can do it.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis.
Ms. Quaid, do you believe we need any major road improvements throughout town? And if so, do you propose to sustainably fund street repairs moving forward?
Yes, that has been a main concern, and I also serve on the street commission, and I have learned a lot. It is not just a matter of putting new surface on our roads. What we do is we have to look at what is beneath the roads. Whenever we look at doing a road project, you have to look at what is the sewer and water and all the infrastructure that's under the road, because if you're going to do a project, you need to do it right. You need to make sure all that is up to date and in compliance. So that is additional expense. And we have looked, there are 28 paved miles of roadway in the city of Windom. And the street commission has went through and looked at the city streets, and we've identified at least 5 projects which are a priority right now. And in 2020 was our last major project, if you remember, on Des Moines Drive, Highland, Verona, that area, Fairview. And every 5 years we look at doing a major road project, and we budget about $400,000. Well, of the 5 that we've picked out as priorities right now, they can range from $200,000 to $4 million. And so you can see that if we only budget $400,000 every 5 years to do a plan, we're never going to get caught up to have good streets in town. We need to, I think, invest a little more up front and get our streets back to where they should be, and then continue that maintenance. And I think that is very important for Windom.
Thank you. Ms. Mathis?
Yeah, I think the streets are a concern for everyone. I think some of them have gotten I've had to replace my suspension from driving on the street, so I am all about fixing them. I don't quite know, how to do that moving forward, because some of them are in such disrepair. I understand it's a huge job that costs a lot of money. I hope that, again, somehow this can be figured out. I've looked at the budget and the finances, but of course I can't get through it with a fine-tooth comb as a general community member trying to navigate the information on the city website. But I just hope there's something done quick, because it is a huge concern for everyone here, myself included. But I don't know the answer. I just hope that something can be changed.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
I'd like to reference first are the street projects that we're currently paying for, so the public can have an idea of what the city is expending at this time. The 2009 street project, which was refinanced for a better rate, makes its final payment in 2025. That amount is over $87,000. The 2013, the annual debt payment on that is $111,000. The 2017, $92,000. And 2020 is $161,000 that the city is responsible to cover in debt retirement. We have to be careful. I agree with Councilmember Quaid that we need to do something. But when I look at the capital improvement plan, we have $4 million in the budget that will be tackled and discussed when we get into the capital improvement funding, and that starts tomorrow night when we have our meeting. So just cautious on what we do it in an economically friendly manner to the residents in the best manner we can.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Mathis, we are back to you. How can our city work to promote more residential home development to promote growth in our community in a cost-effective way?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of houses on the market. I know there's lots for sale, and I mean, the last I knew there was quite a few apartments available yet. I think, is housing a huge problem? I think we need to really work on economic development, and I don't really know how to answer that. We've got plans, we've got new apartments. The Windom Landing is at the apartments by the lake. The lots are for sale by the lake. I don't know. I think it's a weird market right now. I think we need maybe some jobs to bring some people in that can fill the houses that are for sale here now, which are in I am just bombing here. Look at me in front of all you people, and I'm like, what's happening? Keep it to the next one. I'm going to come back and hit it strong next time.
Thank you.
Oh.
Mr. Jones?
I think one thing that's slowing down the housing market right now is the interest rates that we're paying. Loans are creeping up, if not getting to the very high end of things for affordability. I think that we need to continue with our rebate program that we have for new housing that's being built within the city of Windom, or in the county for that matter. The tax abatement program is a 5-year deal. It'll get you $5,000 to $6,000 worth of latitude there on your payments. So it's been a very good program. We've built many homes. We must be up to about 20, I'm gonna guess, within our community since this program started. So very well received by the public, and I think it makes a difference. But like I say, right now I think the interest rates are high with housing. I want to make a comment quickly with my 30 seconds that's left, and comment about a project that I envisioned, and that was that lake development that Hillary was talking about. And after the council, I was on the council and voted, I voted in the affirmative, but the council as a whole voted against the current apartment buildings that are by the community center. And I went up there that night and I sat in that parking lot and I looked over and I said, I know where the next development could be. And I'm proud of that because it gave an opportunity. We do have a contractor that's ready to build up there higher level, higher class apartment complexes, and I'm proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Quaid?
Yes, I think we had more of a housing crisis when High Life was at full capacity. Then when that closed, I think then we saw our housing market start to decrease and we had more availability in town. We weren't stressed as much for housing. With the Lakeside Apartments, the 45 units that was developed there, that helped to have some more market rate apartments. I think with our tax abatement program, as the mayor was saying, that we give incentives, tax incentives for building new houses. And you may say, okay, well that benefits the people that have the money. But the thing is people that maybe have a single family home, a starter home, or maybe an apartment, and if they build a newer house and use that tax rebate fund, they move into that newer house, but then that opens up either apartment or a single family home for someone else. And so it really is a revolving door of people going from apartments to single family to retirement type homes, those kind of things. And so I think we'll continue to see that within our community because we have a lot of diverse age groups. Also, I think Gove Acres has been a big, good thing for our community, having a 55 plus development, and they've utilized the tax abatement program to start up that housing. Our Sunstone development and the housing that's going to be available there to buy lots and develop, and also the new apartment complex that is set to probably go there as well. So I think all those things are positive, and we'd have some market rate housing available.
Thank you, Ms. Quaid.
Ms. Quaid, this question is for you. How are you going to fund and ensure Island Park is open again and maintained in the future?
Excellent question. Being on Park and Rec with the pool and Island Park and all the parks, this is a thing that we've been talking about for a long time. Island Park is a historic park. It's a landmark in our community. And so we can't just let it go by the wayside. We need to do something with Island Park, even though we know that there's this continued flooding happens. Whether we can do some berms or some temporary things to help with the flooding in that area, but also we have to be mindful of the water and the way the water flows, and you have to comply with a lot of regulations of what you do there. But I mean, this is a place that we all know of, you know, the homecoming football game, going to swimming lessons, going to t-ball, that kind of stuff. So I think we need to keep as much as we can down there. But I think the positives are the dog park that's open down there. We do have the funding secured for a new shelter with a new bathroom to be put down there, and we had in mind when we were doing that about the floods, and so that'll be raised up. So I think that's good. The Baseball Association, they have done a fabulous job. If you've been by there, that really looks great. But I think for the future, we need to look at green space and having, you know, whether it's a walking trail, a butterfly park, flower gardens, different things like that that we can enjoy the outdoors and have people walk around in that park and enjoy it. We still have wonderful equipment for the kids to play on down there. And I believe that was all just getting sanitized now, so we can hopefully get back towards opening that park and letting people back down there. But I think we have good plans, and I think we can come up with more to revitalize and really get Island Park back to a usable space.
Thank you, Ms. Quaid. Ms. Mathis?
Yeah, and sorry about, I think I've had too much debates today. Somebody was bound to bomb, it might as well have been me. Love Island Park, staple in the community, and the Baseball Association has done an amazing job down there. It looks great, almost like nothing even happened down there. I think, you know, the flooding we saw down there this year, it has been flooding for a long time, but was unimaginable and wiped out a lot of things that I think if we have less permanent, you know, the dog park, we can go in there and, I mean, there was some damage there, but quickly repairable, I think, fences and whatnot, some cleanup. The park, I did see and talk to John that was cleaned out, sanitizer, our new wood chips. It'll be great to get that place back open. It's a beautiful space, good for fishing, walking. We bike down there all the time. As far as berms and, you know, none of us are experts on that. I know you guys had some studies coming in and hired some firms to look into that. So hopefully some of that can prevent some more serious flooding in the future. But I think I like the green space and, like Quaid mentioned, the trails, but I do think we need to definitely put some effort into keeping it as it has always been a staple in Windom.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis. Mr. Jones?
I happen to know a little bit about water and what it does with my job experience, and I deal with the agencies on a very occasionally, and have a lot of good discussion. When I was on my way back from North Carolina to get back to the flood on that Sunday and received phone calls, and one of the topics was, you know, with Island Park, and a decision had to be made on the temporary berming that evening. And we made that decision, and we did the temporary berming on the street. I personally went around and talked to the 4 residences who, if you want to call them that, the sacrificial lambs. We had to get that berm built across the frontage of their homes and they were on the backside. And that was a hard discussion to have with those folks, but it was what we could do to save the downtown businesses. It was done in the past on the emergencies and floodings that we've had in the past. The correct answer, I believe, is to work with the Minnesota DNR and get a temporary berm, or a permanent berm, I'm sorry, on the back side of the homes that are there diagonally over to Highway 6071, and also utilize some grants that are available for flood mitigation to put in gateways, flood management gates that they would have to go under the two highways to get it over to the railroad bridge. There would be several partners in that, being the city of Windom, the state of Minnesota, state of Minnesota MnDOT, and the railroad to make that happen, and put control structures in there so the water cannot back up into the downtown areas. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, we'll be coming back to you right away with our next question. Should homeowners living directly at the point of street repairs pay all the costs for street repairs, or should this burden fall onto the entire community in a more evenly distributed system?
It depends on when the properties have to be, or the streets have to be updated. But if we have our typical projects, the water and sewer, as Jenny said earlier, that's a key component of when that construction gets done. And the sewer line is the city's responsibility, is the main line. It's the homeowners from their home to the main. Water is the city's responsibility, the main, and then from the corporation stop to the service line valve, that is also the city's. That final service line valve going into the homes is the residential responsibility. And so I think that I think we should explore a voluntary assessment in some of our streets. I think voluntary assessments, it takes 75% of a road segment in order to get a voluntary assessment rolling. I think there's many of us, I'm included in that. I would sign up for a voluntary assessment to get an overlay done in areas that already have the infrastructure taken care of when it's newer. I think a voluntary assessment for our public would be an offer that we should look at.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Quaid?
Yes, right now there's a flat rate that's assessed to each property for water and sewer if that needs to be done, if it's on the street that you're living in front of. And also the property owner, if it's your front street in front of you that's being replaced, repaired, then the property is assessed 50%, and that's based on cost per linear foot. And if it's your side yard, then it's 25%. So if you're in that double whammy of they're doing the street in front of you and to the side of you, then you'll get the 50% and the 25%. But this, we've talked about it a few different times about going away from having the whole community pay for any kind of projects, or having, if it's your street, these are the costs that are split between the city and the people that live in the housing. And it's very difficult. It'd be something that, if we started it, say, next year, well, then all the people up on Verona and Des Moines Drive and everything that we just assessed in 2020 is going to be like, hey, we just paid all this portion and now you want us to pay more for something on the East Hill that, doesn't affect us. So it's kind of hard to say, when would you start that process? I think that'd be something we'd have to plan out into the future to let people know and slowly move into that, or maybe bring that percentage down of what the homeowner pays if we're going to start to have the city take on that responsibility throughout the whole tax base. So I think there's opportunities to look at different ways, but right now it's that 50% if it's the street in front of you, or 25% if it's a side street towards you.
Thank you, Ms. Quaid. Ms. Mathis?
I personally think that, I see what she's saying about switching it now, and all those people would have a double whammy, but it seems to make more sense, especially with some of the maybe more used roads that we're all paying for it. I mean, we all pull it in instead of sticking one property owner, especially corner people, that would be rough, but I'm happy to hear it's a lower rate. But I do think that it would be a better way to help the entire community if we all split it, and instead of what we're doing now. But again, that's tough. I mean, it's hard to switch it on them, but that's what I think.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis.
Ms. Quaid, how will you make our town more attractive to visitors, citizens, and businesses?
Well, I think overall, like I talked about before, we have to take advantage of Highway 6071 coming through town, and we need to try to bring more businesses to town and then support the current businesses we have. I think with economic development, we really need to look at, in my opinion, and where I am with my campaign, is I really want to push and work with the EDA to look at bringing that second grocery store to town that we have all been desperately asking for a long time. But I think it takes a mayor being right there with EDA and saying, and not just sending letters or a phone call, it's no, let's sit down on a face-to-face meeting. If we need to travel to you, we'll travel to you. But make sure that they know how much we want them and would appreciate their business coming to our community. So the grocery store, I think we need another hotel. I think that would greatly help our town, and also a sit-down restaurant, and one preferably that serves breakfast. I'm a breakfast gal, and there's not a lot of breakfast options in town. I think those things would really help to increase our development in Windom and bring more people to town if we had these extra amenities in town, and just taking advantage of our town and really marketing Windom as a destination to come, to live, and to raise your family.
Thank you, Ms. Quaid. Ms. Mathis?
So I think that we really need to, I know there's a lot of information out there, and if it was all easily accessible for businesses or people that are thinking to start a business, if it were all just in one collective place. I know there are grants out there for current businesses to beef up their storefronts and help with signage and things. If we just had that all together and we marketed it out, had it clearly communicated to people that are looking to come in, I think that would make a huge difference. And I think we really need to, those of us that are here, just really better develop our sense of community pride. Take care of our yards, do things like that. I mean, just help each other out, pick up trash or plant flowers or whatever it is, to just build community pride and make people know that this is a great place to be. I mean, I hear that all the time, that Windom is second to none as far as our community goes, but I think it is really appealing to outsiders, and we just need to have our information collected and clearly communicated and easily accessible.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis. Mr. Jones?
First of all, I'd like to start with a little bit rebuttal on Ms. Quaid's comment about the grocery store. Yes, I agree with her. Letters have been sent. I have sent 3 different sets of letters to grocery stores that at the time were actually considering. All of that type of information, when you're trying to get a grocery store into a community, is confidential information. The one thing that hurt us, because we were almost there, I can tell you that now, we were almost there. However, High Life left. After that population left, we were no longer being considered, and that's the fact on it. What I think would beautify and help our community is to enforce our nuisance ordinance that we have on file. And this can be seen through various parts of town. Recently, I was contacted by a resident of Windom. Does that include my rebuttal time? But I was contacted by a resident, and there was a terrible structure built out of car parts on her neighbor's property, who has a junkyard and falls under the ordinance and needs to be taken care of. And that was a gesture on a homemade scarecrow that was pointing to her home. That is ridiculous and shouldn't happen in our community. I will enforce that nuisance ordinance, and I'll find a way to get the job done. That's where we need to start.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Ms. Mathis, we are back to you. What can you do to help those affected by this year's flooding?
Well, I mean, I think this year's flooding, I think I helped as many people as I possibly could. I was there a lot. As far as what the needs are currently, I have checked in with some people who are still waiting for maybe FEMA assistance. I talked to one woman who has not had a kitchen for 3 months that their project will start next week, so that's really good. But I don't know really how to answer that without saying I already did it. I mean, I put in a lot of time. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life, but I think, you know, maybe moving forward we could be a little bit better prepared, have sandbags and be ready, but ultimately this community showed up and we really took care of it with what we had to work with. So I always hate to say it was the coolest experience of my life because so many people lost so much, but it really was, and it was awesome, and I'm so proud of Windom for showing up. And but as far as what else I can do to help the people, I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but I don't really know because I think we did it. Windom showed up, we did it.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis. Ms. Quaid?
I think now we're in the rebuilding, and I think it's important to be there to listen to our residents in their concerns and what they need moving forward. We've been through, I would say, maybe the worst, but if anybody's lived through remodeling and house construction, you know that that's very challenging as well. And so I think more than ever, it's just listening to our community members, listening to what their needs are or any ways that we can help. I know as city council, it's kind of hard to say, you know, well, we can go out and help you get a furnace or this or that. But if there are ways that we can help to, if they have questions or different things about rebuilding or codes or ordinances or things that we can do and work together, get information out there about what's available through the city or any kind of funding or anything that we do have or anything we have available, you know, to get that information out there. I think FEMA being here and having all those resources was really great while they were here. And that I think a lot of people did take advantage of that. But I think now is just really helping people rebuild and get back to a stable living and having their environment, their home back together.
Thank you, Ms. Quaid. Mr. Jones?
We as a mayor and city council need to appreciate our staff who diligently went door to door for the first step for eligibility of private homeowner assistance. That was huge. We had to prove it first. I sat in on 10 incident command meetings through the first 10 days. FEMA was there to help, but you always have to prove the conditions. And our staff did. Our staff went out, they went door to door to the highly vulnerable areas, which start with Cottonwood Lake, start with Perkins Creek. Do you start with Red Leaf Court? Do you start with River Road? You know, where do we start? Island Park? You know, there's a massive amount of improvements that we need to do to help the community. And, you know, the city council and the mayor need to focus on that. We need to rebuild our community and do it soon so we don't forget about it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Ms. Quaid, what are your considerations for relocating the pool as the current location has multiple issues?
Yes, I think overall we've had a development plan up at the Windom Rec area years ago. We had mapped out like the soccer field, the possibility of a pool in that area, the baseball, softball, those kind of things. And so there has been things looked at to relocate it up in that area and make it all workable to have everything in one location. I just think overall, I mean, it'd be wonderful if we could continue to have it Island Park, but I think with the history of it flooding over and over. And I believe what I was told was that if we do receive FEMA funds, I don't think they allow us to rebuild it in that location, because if we qualify, it's because we qualify because it's been a multiple flood issue. And so then if we do qualify, we would then qualify hopefully for relocation funds. And then it would have to be, we wouldn't have a choice of the location, we would have to move it. And I think it makes the most sense probably to be up at the Windom Rec area. So if you are going to T-ball, baseball, those kind of things, the kids are playing at Castle Kingdom, at the skate park, all those playing tennis, pickleball, it's all up there in that same area, and we're not having kids having to cross the highway and go back and forth for different events.
Thank you, Ms. Quaid. Ms. Mathis?
Yes, I mean, I think that's one thing everybody can agree on, and I mean, I would just reiterate on what Jenny said here. I think the pool, while I loved it at Island Park, we're gonna face this again if it stays there, and I think if moving it up to the rec area, I mean, that does make a lot of sense. There's a lot of things going on up there already now, and it'll have to be moved anyways, especially if FEMA is approved for it, so I think that's an excellent space for it. Lots to do up there, and it would be a smart move. Good place to have it.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis. Mr. Jones?
I might disagree with that a little bit. And the reason is, it goes back to something that Ms. Quaid said, and that was about getting half the cost of the current value of the swimming pool. What do you think the value of that is? I will bet you that we don't have $500,000 of value in that current swimming pool. I would like to know that, because I'm not sure. And so if you get $250,000 on an $8 million swimming pool, that's a lot of money that our community has to pay for. And that should just be a consideration. I don't necessarily think it has to be up at the rec area. I still like my idea of the school, putting in a plug for that again. Just because I would love for the high school to actually teach the lifeguarding classes here at Windom Area High School, to prepare those students for work within our community when this new swimming pool is built. I think Mr. Joyce could jump right up and take care of that. So, you know, and I'm a think out of the box type of guy. That's what I pride myself in, is thinking of ways to correct either a mistake or a condition. And those things are very valuable, and yes, we need a swimming pool for swimming lessons, but not a water park.
Can I have
Mr. Jones?
Can I have rebuttal on that?
Yes, go ahead.
So just to clarify, it was said that if the damage is more than 50% of what the current value of the pool is, then we could access FEMA funds. That wasn't that we would necessarily get 50% of whatever the current value of the pool is from FEMA. That amount was unknown from what I was reading and hearing. It was just that we cannot access any funds from FEMA unless there's 50% or more damage of the current pool for what the current pool is worth. So I don't know, what kind of funds we could be looking at from FEMA, and that's rebuilding and relocating. So I don't know if that's two separate pots of money then, and what kind of amount that is, just to clarify that. And also I have, for the 6 years I've been on Park and Rec, talked about the pool. I have talked to different leaders within the school about this possibility numerous times. And so far I've gotten that, the school has not been interested in pursuing that. But if Dominic can get it done with his connections, more power to him.
Would you like a rebuttal, Mr. Jones?
Yes, or just a clarification. And I wanted to concur that Jenny's been after a pool since she's been on the city council, and she's very adamant about that. I'm a little bit more conservative and want the people's opinion, and Jenny did agree with me at a council meeting that this would be up to the public for a vote. But also, we're going to have a vote on the referendum this fall, and we're going to see what the city says about that.
That concludes our questions. We will now move on to our closing statements in the order of Quaid, Jones, and Mathis. However, we do have some sort of a baseline question for you. What do you value and why are you interested in becoming Windom's next mayor? You each have 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
So we get to answer that and then do our closing
Yes.
statement? Okay. I have been interested in being mayor and being part of our community for as long as I can think. I've always felt like whatever I can do to be involved, be active, and lead in our community is a wonderful thing. I have, my mom is a county commissioner to look up to and see that there is, wonderful things that we can do if we step up and lead in our community and take that initiative. And that is something I think as a family that we value is, giving of ourselves, giving of our time and being involved. And I think, that's what I would do. I would give, my heart and soul. I love this town. I want to see it thrive. I want to see it, prosper. And I would give everything that I can to make that happen. And so if I'm elected mayor, I will push and I will work to make that happen.
Mr. Jones?
I think one of my attributes are the contacts that I have, both politically and with our different associations that we belong to. Associations with the DNR, MPCA, our senators and representatives. Annually, I go to Washington, D.C., and I'm proud of this because we visit every congressional office in Washington, D.C. And we not only talk, these are with the Minnesota and National Rural Water Associations, we not only talk about our water systems, but myself as mayor, when I introduce myself, I am manager of Red Rock and I'm the City of Windom mayor when they shake my hand. And that's important because they recognize us. When we enter that office, they'll say, "Hi, Dominic, how's the mayor doing today?" And they remember you. And those contacts are so important for us. And it's the same thing. I have a phone number for Governor Walz. Would anyone like it? He actually called me. I have Senator Klobuchar's number. She called me at 10:30 at night when the flood was happening and passed that on. They've called during the High Life episodes when they were leaving our community, and we had to go after the $8 million that we actually garnered for the city of Windom. Those are the contacts that I feel are most beneficial of myself for the city of Windom and the rural water system that I manage. I think they go hand in hand. I have met new relationships from the folks that we deal with at Windom and also at Red Rock Rural Water, my job. We're looking at a $3.5 million budget here and that is just in the general fund in Windom. I run a $2.5 million budget at Red Rock. A lot of things commingle. I believe I have the leadership abilities, the experience, the business and financial needs, the persistence to do long-term development, to listen to council members. I'm very opinionated, but it's their vote when it's said and done. The understanding to continue and do what's best for the community as a whole, continued economic development, and to support our housing initiatives and continue that going. Thank you.
Ms. Mathis?
So there are going to be a lot of things that I can't answer and I don't have the information for right away. But that said, I will dig in, I will ask the questions, and I will always provide the community with the most clear and concise information available, which is really what I value and why I'm running for this. I think that, I love this small town. I was born and raised here. I raised all my kids here. I want to have grandkids here. I want amenities and opportunities and possibilities for people to live here. I'm not scared to ask questions, to do the work, and to make the connections to bring about positive change in Windom. I do lack experience in city government, but I do not lack experience in business. I have the skills to build relationships relationships to build community, and connect the public to bring more new opportunities for Windom. That experience is what I think that Windom needs to grow and prosper.
Thank you all.
All right, this concludes the debate. We want to thank Mr. Jones, Ms. Mathis, and Ms. Quaid for attending and participating in our first ever Windom Mayor debate. We want to thank the community of Windom for supporting the debate. Lastly, we want to thank Mr. Joyce, Mr. Burton, and the college politics class. Reminder that the election is taking place on Tuesday, November 5th, and polls open at 7 a.m., and voting will take place at the community center. We encourage all those able to vote to vote. Thank you all for attending, and please drive home safe.